Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to another video. Today we are reacting to another Ren video. Now I'm doing this because I want to give full credit to Ren's creation and the multiverse that he is apparently creating. A lot of you were very active in the comments of my last video. Some of you were more graceful about educating me, some people were not. So I want to address that right off the bat. I am not making this video because I feel like I did a disservice to Ren. I think as an artist he can probably understand that there are going to be people who discover his work halfway through him making it. And I also trust his artistic ability for his videos and his songs to be able to stand up by themselves without the fuller added context. I get that there's a lot more to be had if you watch from the beginning to the end and if you're following all of his other media releases as well. I get that there's a broader context, but this is me in this intro addressing maybe the 5% of people who are either attacking my profession or my genuineness and my motives in making that initial video, saying I'm just in it for the money, or that you can't trust therapists and all this other kind of stuff, drawing a lot of conclusions based on very little context, which is what they were accusing me of in the first place. I grant you Ren's artistic vision. I grant that you're fans of him and that you want people to have the full experience that you are enjoying following the series of videos and shorts and reels and whatever else he's doing to flesh out this world that he's creating. When it turns into gatekeeping and saying like, you can't enjoy this unless you are enjoying it the way that I can, that becomes really problematic. It becomes almost like you're defensive of his vision or not trusting his work to stand on its own. I absolutely get, and I invited people to fill in the blanks for me because I was owning right at the beginning that I'm not somebody who follows all of his work. And so there are definitely going to be gaps in what I'm missing. So again, this is about the people who turned it nasty or personal. You know, it's like the Star Wars fans who are like, oh, only my opinion is right. Only my vision for Star Wars is right. Everyone else is a casual or they're not actually fans and they deserve to be treated as such. So I would just say, I welcome the comments. I welcome the discussion. Let's keep it civil, let's keep it respectful. Let's not ascribe motives to where we don't know what the motives are. I'm trying to educate about mental health, and so I find content that matches that. Not all of Ren's content matches that specifically, and because I'm not a Ren reaction channel, that means I'm not going to be reacting to all of his stuff, and I rely on you all, those people who follow him a lot more closely, to be able to fill in the gaps for me of stuff that I've missed. I bring in more of my knowledge on the mental health and addiction side of things that he's discussing in the songs. With all that being said, today we are doing Sunflowers, a prologue. This is the beginning of this series of tales, and so we're going back in time a little bit. I invite you all to fill in the blanks, so without further ado, let's dive into Vincent's tale, Sunflowers.
Tragic scenes last night in London. A 14-year-old girl was found dead from a fatal stab wound. Her attacker, a 14-year-old boy, is in critical condition after a violent altercation with a police officer. Over to reporters on the ground for more.
Oh, such a beautiful shame. The sunflowers will when the skies do not rain. It's a story I'm sure we all know.
Okay, so what I was told was that this is following up on the tales of Jenny and Screech, Screech being killed by the police officer Richard, and that's where we're picking up from the story. Now, a lot of you put me onto the fact that all of these Vincent's tales are named after Vincent van Gogh paintings, and so the Sunflowers painting was done by him to welcome his friend Gauguin when they moved in together to start building this artistic community. So I can see this, first of all, just as a welcome to the tales, and of course, knowing how Van Gogh's life ended up could be a bit of a hint at, even though sunflowers are bright, that the story could get dark pretty quickly.
It's a moment of madness inside of the woes. We all fall down in London town. Shaky ground carries me.
Yeah, the musical style here is really interesting, and I know you all have touched on it a good bit, that Ren has a lot of different talents and capabilities when it comes to musical style. So this one's very lyrical, a lot more vibrato in the voice, a lot more emotional in that sense, in that style of singing. Do you want to try VenturePal for free? I know I've been talking about VenturePal products in a couple of my videos recently, and they've provided me with a giveaway code so that you can try VenturePal supplements for free. VenturePal really focuses on getting you healthy supplements that actually help you and are filled with natural flavors and natural colors so that you don't have to worry about what you're putting in your body. So go ahead and comment a drink emoji in the comments below to be entered into this giveaway, and I'll do a drawing later on a week after this video has been out. So in the meantime, this is a gift coupon code, so you get to choose which supplement you get to try out. And in the meantime, you can also use my code THERAPY today for 15% off in the VenturePal store. So again, make sure you enter the giveaway by commenting a drink emoji in the comments below, and good luck to you. It's also interesting the light in the background that's flashing, almost like a warning light showing that there might be something coming around the horizon that we need to watch out for.
Rains down, blindingly loud, never surrender.
I just said it was more of a typical sound, then he goes all kind of roar on it, and then you see this thing burning on top of a desk. I haven't quite made out what it is yet, but we'll see. Oh, it's sunflowers on fire. Okay, so he's already playing with the image of the title. Originally, the sunflowers were painted by Van Gogh as kind of a welcome gift for his friend who was moving in with him in Arles, I believe it was. I don't know how to pronounce French names. That's what it looks like when it's written in English. But yeah, just like the sunflowers here are on fire, the brightness of the two friends living together did not last all that long either. This may be hinting that some kind of interpersonal relationship or some kind of sunny outlook is starting to fall apart or burn up.
Oh, what a terrible scene. Here lie the corpses of corporate machines planting seeds.
Oh, what a terrible scene. Here lie the corpses of corporate machines. I think here he's talking about people who are filling in as cogs within the corporate machines. Not the machines themselves, but the corpses, the people who are co-opted into that system. It doesn't care about the individual, just cares about extracting what it can, the production that it can out of those people.
Where the grass never grows, but the grass it stays greener in places unknown as well.
Planting seeds where the grass never grows, but the grass it stays greener in places unknown. Maybe these corporate machines are trying to plant ideas or saying, oh, this is the next thing. This is where there's going to be hope and that's where things are going to be better, where there's never been any success of that in the past, distracting us from where there actually is greener grass in places unknown, where we have some idea that there should be something better and we don't actually look for where the grass is actually greener. He did reference, if I'm following the analogy correctly, he did reference this idea a little bit in the bedroom, where he talks about distraction being what keeps us in place and running on this meaningless treadmill, where we just allow ourselves to get distracted, where distraction is what we crave, but it's also what keeps us in place and unable to find more meaning in life and keeps us in this kind of meaningless existence where we're working just to survive, just to distract ourselves and never actually going anywhere.
We all fall down in London town. Shaky ground carries me. Whoa, rains down, blindingly loud, never surrender.
Oh, okay, so I heard the music and the beat start to change a little bit. This is very interesting, the way that he does. This is like a waltz kind of style, which is really weird when you think about the instruments involved. But it's a da 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 da, that 3/4 meter, which is a really common dance meter in kind of classical dance, waltzes, minuets, and things like that, juxtaposed with the content matter of him talking about us falling down, preparing for war, never surrender. And again, I'm not familiar enough with the characters. If this is Richard and he's smoking to kind of numb the feelings or just to kind of distance himself from the gravity of what he's done, and then Ren telling the meta narrative above it all, maybe these are people just caught up in this corporate system. There's a lot going on in terms of commentary on people-to-people conflicts, intrapersonal conflicts within ourselves, and then larger societal conflicts where we all fall down in London town. So nobody's exempt from that system where we are all paying the cost and we're all on shaky ground. War rains down blindingly loud, and yet on an individual level, we never surrender. Yeah, musical value, like this is a really interesting song, and I want to see what he does with the rest of it because I started hearing that transition. So let's hear that. Okay, Okay, wow, I'm trying to make out what was going on with that. I might need to hear it again, but I think it changed meter there, and I was trying, you could see me trying to figure out what the meter was. Let me take another listen to it. Okay, so I think that was still in 3/4, but what he does is he starts syncopating some of the melodic lines with the electronic instruments. So you can still hear the strong downbeat with the da 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 da, but now it's just offset with a lot of these little rhythmic flourishes. Yeah, it's interesting because the beat was really, I say basic in just kind of a musical sense. I know there was a lot going on musically, but just in the basic sense of like, it was a very confident, strong beat, and now there's something else kind of confusing it a little bit and throwing off like, oh, I don't really know where to step. And that could be an audio representation of what he's talking about, the shaky ground that we all stand on. This is an interesting series of shots, zooming in on him on the TV and suddenly he's the character, or suddenly the camera focus is on him. And he's going through all of these different scenes where he's looking directly at the viewer. I know some of you have talked about like he's the bard or he's the narrator. He's the person telling the story of all of these individual people. And so one thing that would happen in Shakespearean literature or medieval literature, and I think even going back to like Greek plays also, like the bard or the chorus, you know, whoever was the narrator would also speak to the audience directly. They had a reason that they were telling the story. So I'm interested to see whether he explains lyrically why he is telling this story. Okay, I know it was about to head to a drop, but being a pianist, I'm noticing the bass notes steadily walking down. And so you're seeing him do all of these normal things in different scenes. You get the sense that the bottom is rapidly falling out underneath. And so that's consistent with the vision of what we saw with the sunflowers initially. If you think about the painting and then the image of the sunflowers being on fire, that maybe it's slow to catch and slow to burn, but then once it lights, then everything falls apart very quickly. One thing that I've noticed about this one, as well as in the bedroom so far, he takes a pretty healthy drink in both of the videos. Now, I don't know what Ren's relationship with alcohol is like. I know he sings about and talks about substance use in his songs. I don't know if he has some kind of history with alcohol specifically, and I don't know quite what it represents, but there is something to that he's featured it prominently in 2 of these videos and these tales. Okay, what was that? Maybe like a preview of the upcoming videos, and then maybe July 31st, the drop of the next one. Yeah, interesting prologue. I think lyrically, for me at least, there wasn't as much for me to unpack here. I think I'm gonna go over to the next video as well just to see if there might be a little more there. But as for prologue, very interesting listening. I think I talked a lot more about the musicality of it and the way that he plays with rhythm and uses the differences in the piano and the different electronic instruments to be able to create certain effects. I think the overall tone is just that there's a lot of promise at the beginning. Suddenly the orderliness of it, the potential of it, feels like the bottom's dropping out, which could be a metaphor for the way that this entire narrative sort of unfolds. So yeah, let's just jump over to Vincent's Tale Self-Portrait, which I believe is the next one, and then we'll just go from there. Okay, so this picks up where the last video left off. I don't know if he starts all of his videos in the tales this way, but I'm starting to see some of the patterns.
Each night I love you more and more. Day and night I seem to dream about you. I sing to you.
That's interesting. Day and night I seem to dream about you. And in the context of PTSD, if we're still looking at Richard's tale as well, that lyric can actually take a much darker tone because one of the symptoms is re-experiencing. So when we have a traumatic incident, then we'll have flashbacks, which are when you're re-experiencing the event in real time, when you're awake and you feel like you're being transported back to the same scene and it's happening again. Or you can have nightmares where you're reliving some aspect of that traumatic situation. So that's an interesting lyric to choose in light of the stories that he's telling.
I'll cling to you. Bless your heart, I just can't live without you. So come out and meet me, honey,
Interesting use of the unbalanced camera to show the drunkenness and kind of the mental state that he's in right now.
I will do what I want. I will drink till I'm sick to my stomach.
That attitude is something that I hear a lot from people who struggle with addiction. It says, I will do what I want, I'll drink till I'm sick, which it feels like we're making a choice, but it's really that we're being so influenced by the alcohol or whatever else we might be addicted to that all of our choices just happen to tend in that direction, no matter what we think, what control we think we have.
I'm sick of the same boring songs. I am sick of these pavements I find myself on. Great Britain, I hate you. I'll say that with pride. It's my right to be violent when you fed me lies.
Another theme that's been running throughout these narratives, from the prologue over to self-portrait and then what I saw over in the bedroom as well, is the dynamic and the tension between societal influence, the way that we're raised or the things that we're taught by our culture growing up, and then our own responsibility and our own freedom, and how much those influence each other, interact with each other, and where ultimate responsibility lies when it comes to things like hurting others or being in addiction or struggling with illness.
I'm a rotter, a menace when I want to be, and I've worked for that right because nothing comes free. I have slaved all my life in the dull 9 to 5. I just rinse and repeat while I'm barely alive.
He touched on that in Bedroom as well. Being barely alive, just working enough so you can pay off your bills and barely survive, but you're technically living, so you got to keep working in this 9 to 5 hamster wheel that we can find ourselves on. Finding some way to have freedom from that, because that by itself can be very dulling to our spirits and our mental health as well, leading to burnout, leading to depression, and just being overwhelmed by the responsibilities that are heaped on us that feel very hard to break free from.
Great Britain, I loathe you with murderous glee. I will do to this country what I want to tear.
Wow, that's really impressive for him to be stumbling around like that with the camera. So they've got to sync up their motion somehow, because you can't just do it randomly, or else it's going to look a lot more chaotic than it actually is, and not in an artistic way. But then he's also playing at the same time. One thing that I see consistently is that I'm impressed with Ren's musicality and his ability with a bunch of different instruments, but he really shows it on guitar in this series so far.
Apart these buildings from the cinder blocks they stand. Leave this town in dust and rubble. Make some trouble with my hands. I won't lie, I'm fucking wasted. But I wasted all my youth, and I've stayed so damn complacent. Getting wasted is my truth. So
oh, okay, that's interesting. Another play on words where we talk about like, what is your truth when it comes to counseling and mental health. But yeah, what do you do with someone when getting wasted is their truth? That's the purpose that they live for. That's the thing that they care about. That's what they're orienting their lives around. And sometimes that's what I need to struggle with as a counselor, that sometimes my clients come in and that really is their truth. That's what their lives are moving towards. And they've probably landed in my office because that's gotten them into trouble in some form or fashion. And so working with motivational interviewing, seeing how maybe alcohol or whatever other addictive substance or behavior they're engaging in is not actually doing for them what they think it's doing.
So my style of self-expression is a fist into the gut. It's throwing up upon these papers. Shut your fucking mouth, you slut. Banished angel, I am Lucifer. Might reign like Genghis Khan. Soon you will all know my name. I am the storm after the calm. I'm the victim.
Yeah, all of those chromatic chords, that creates a very jarring effect. For those of us who listen to Western music, we don't do a lot with chromatics except to create that kind of effect where it makes you take notice, it makes you pay attention because it doesn't sound very pleasing to the ears.
Victim of the victim list, the pill that makes you sick. I am chaos incarnate. Let's fucking have it then, you prick. Now the rules of the street fight are simple. It's pretty much anything goes. Keeping the street pretty firm on your feet. It pays to be sweet on your toes. And fools they have fallen for clumsy mistakes. Late to react, cop the fist to the face. Now the rules of the street fight are simple. Break that little prick's nose. Throw a punch, you swallow it, follow it, grab the collar, quick hollow tip like karate, kick martial art master, spark a bitch, park a fist on the landing, trick carnage, it finds the cartilage, karma serve like a carbonated cola on the crucifix, kill. Vincent wanna kill, who blood gets spilled, move double that rude boy.
Dude, how do you stage a fight while playing the guitar and singing and still being recorded at the same time? Like there's too much going on here. But one thing that we'll notice, and that we see in a lot of his videos, the musical style has changed. First, it was a lot of light, high notes on the guitar when he was introing the street fight, which is an interesting contrast. And now the rhythmic sort of rapping, and then also the rhythmic guitar, mimicking the rhythm of a fight, the back and forth. It's pretty cool how he can use one instrument and one voice to mimic the style of the scene that he's going after, or to create a particular effect that he wants to have on the listener.
Kill or be killed. Do it for the fun, blood. Do it for the thrill. Blue lights, boy, run. Blue lights, boy, chill.
Ooh, really interesting camera angle there where it goes upside down and turns slowly to follow him going off the scene. Whoever's doing the videography for this, like, props to them. They had a lot going on that they had to be taken care of during this shoot.
So it goes in the absence of the light. The devil sowed a seed in either mind. Vincent was shaken, run from the law, hide from the bacon, crouch on the floor. The cook to omit him, hate the hope the wolf spits on him, rapes him, hits him, kicks him when he's down, and that shapes him. He hears the sound.
Okay, so I'm still trying to figure out the split between Ren as the narrator and Ren apparently playing Vincent, the guy who just killed the guy in the street and then ran off. So help me sort that out in the comments. Unless we're saying that Vincent is the narrator, but that doesn't sound right either.
Sound of a copper, hot upon his tail proper, Vincent off his rocker. Bothered by the lie the Britain sold him, what a shocker. Where greedy eat the poor, a holy war, the chosen prosper. But some were never chosen, they stay frozen in the locker. Destined to survive in 9 to 5 and watch the clock, but don't think about reality, my little happy shopper.
Ooh, don't think about reality, my little happy shopper. That hits hard in America as well. We're a very consumerist society. And I actually have had more clients talking about some of these big issues rather than just the normal, I don't know, kind of individual mental health issues. But really when you realize that there's a lot that our society and our culture is telling us, or selling us in this case, just be satisfied by working your 9 to 5, buy some nice stuff, and that'll keep you distracted so you can be productive through the end of your life. Makes it easier to ignore bigger societal issues of how we are shaping our mental health, or how a culture built around distraction and just forced productivity really crushes the soul and doesn't allow for creativity and potential to really spring through. And so a lot of my younger clients, maybe those who are in college or just getting out of college or transitioning out of high school, are figuring out those questions for themselves. Like, what is the meaning in all this? What's the point? Is it just to buy more stuff? Is it just to keep moving up? And then finally, when I get to where I think I want to be, what's left? And so there are a lot of existential questions being brought out in this song here. And I think it's very fitting that it's titled Self-Portrait, because this is us looking at an image of ourselves, but also suddenly noticing the background of that self-portrait, that there's a lot of other influences that are shaping why we struggle so much with anxiety, with depression, with burnout, and all these other things.
A brand new show on Netflix to distract you from the horror, and swallow all your morals for a retweet or a follow, and shadow ban the problem man a sold for $1, and keep the fight amongst yourself, don't think about the squalor. The systems don't impose it, or the rules that we all honour. And fuck it, Vincent cooked to boiling point, he's cannon fodder. So what's the use in running, he's already in the locker. He's careless with his actions now, a clumsy motherfucker. He turned to face his fate, cause fate's a bitch and none will stop her. Richard was an officer who stood at 6'3". Was his first day back at work after a time of absent leave. Working London on the night shift, what he didn't think he'd see was a boy with a guitar, bruised and battered on his knees. But Richard lived in caution now, tormented by his past.
Okay, so now we're getting into some of the trauma of Richard meeting up with Vincent. I think that's what the story is saying. And Richard's actions now as a police officer after his leave, after the incident with Screech, all of his choices now are influenced by that trauma in the past, which is not an uncommon thing. And one of the symptoms that we talk about with trauma response is avoidance. We'll try to avoid situations that bring back some reminders or have some kind of similarity to that past traumatic incident. But sometimes when we come up on those situations by accident, as if you're a police officer will probably happen, then that fight or flight response can really take hold and people can become unpredictable in those situations.
Not so quick to find a trigger, not so fast. But Richard was a righteous man who lived inside the law. So he leapt upon poor Vincent and he cuffed him to the floor.
Well, in light of what's going on in America with policing and federal law enforcement, this is a very interesting video to be watching. Ideally, this is where training would make a difference when it comes to policing or military personnel or anybody in those kinds of professions where they deal with crisis situations. That yes, they do experience traumatic incidents at a higher rate because of the nature of the work that they're in. But the idea of that training is so that you can respond in the correct way, or I guess we could say in the lawful way, or the way that you're supposed to respond, because you train those to be your new instincts instead of to fight or to flight or to freeze up. Now, whether that happens in practice, not really for me to judge here, that's outside the scope of this channel, but that's interesting, the turn that the story takes, that where you would be expecting someone who was recently off duty because they were dealing with some trauma themselves to respond what it seems like what he's supposed to do in this situation. I was expecting him to respond with aggression or to run away or to freeze up, but apparently that did not happen in this story. Samuel Perry Falvey. Shout out to Samuel Perry Falvey. He was working hard on this video. There was a lot going on video-wise, and just to follow the narrative and all these continuous shots and going from angle to angle. I was impressed. All right, so there you have it. We had the sunflowers, and then we had self-portrait, gradually working our way up to where we initially started, which a lot of you said I shouldn't have started at, with the bedroom. There's a lot more discussion about trauma in self-portrait. Again, I think the way that the stage was set with sunflowers was really helpful. And the idea of that, people start with a lot of potential, a lot of brightness, and then when society gets a hold of them with the lies that we're told, or the consumeristic mindset that we're trained in, and it becomes really easy to just be consumed by the 9 to 5, to barely survive, and then to work our lives away trying to buy stuff and continue moving up when the deck is actually stacked against us in the first place. So a lot of social commentary here, and of course including a police officer. Maybe that means something a little different in the UK compared to America right now, but the message does translate, with the police often being a representation of the man, you know, the system grinding people down, but then also portraying Richard as a victim of that system as well. And so when those two intersect with Richard and Vincent colliding, that's where things are going to get really interesting. So that's probably going to be the next video that we do, looking ahead to the other videos in this series of tales. So again, doing these videos is not because I feel like I disrespected Ren or did him a disservice by starting in the middle of the tales or towards the end of the tales. I don't know how many he plans on making, but because enough of you were persuasive enough that there was further context, further mental health conversation to be had around these videos, that it was worth me going back and getting more of the story and more of the picture. So thank you all for that. Again, like I said, I appreciate the comments. I appreciate you all filling in what I've missed, little images and details and sound that I didn't pick up on this first listen. And so I do welcome that. I'm glad to learn. And like I told one of the commenters, as a counselor, I'm always dropped into the middle of somebody's story. I'm never with somebody from the very beginning. And so that's art mimicking life, where sometimes I have to go back and be like, whoa, okay, I missed the context for this comment, but it seems like there's something there. Let me go back and hear this story and catch me up to speed so that we can make sense of what's going on in the present. And that's the learning journey that I'm on and going through these videos. So thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you all next time.